Good morning, everyone, and happy 2020. I hope you all had a fantastic New Year's. My name's Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and a big good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone joining me live this, Monday? I can't keep track of time. I had just 2 weeks off, and I'm relaxed. I'm feeling great. Hopefully you are too. If you are tuning in live, let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and maybe if this is your first time using Adobe XD, let me know that as well. Big good morning, afternoon, evening to Stone and Tim and Anna and Eric and Khalid and Agnes and who else we have? Amy, Tim, everyone else joining me. Let me know. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing great, feeling really relaxed. Excited to be back hosting the daily challenges. We've had a few amazing hosts over the last few months. Andrea and Sam and Peter and a lot of different people, and who knows who else is going to be hosting in 2020. We have a lot of cool stuff packed for you. Great new features in XD coming up, some possibly even in January, some cool stuff that we're working on. DeAndre, welcome. Dustin and Victor and Adriano, happy 2020. And Chanel, nice to see you, everyone. Got some familiar faces, we got some new faces. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it. So today, if you're brand new to these XD daily challenges, today's a welcome stream. So we're going to welcome you. We're going to kind of give you the spiel of what's going on over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for Adobe XD, using Behance, that sort of thing. And then tomorrow, same time, same place, we're going to kick off the very first challenge. And usually the way things work, let me actually hop over to my screen here. This is Behance. So if you head over to behance.net/challenge/XD, and Adriano's saying, did I hear sounds on XD? I don't know. We've got some cool stuff coming up. You will see. I know Sam Anderson did post something that may kind of give you some hints as to what, might be coming. Check him out on Twitter, Sam Anderson. I don't know his username, but look up Sam Anderson. You'll find him. He posted something sound related. Who knows? I mean, I do know, but I can't tell you. So yeah, Tim just posted the link in there, behance.net/challenge/XD. There's a big blue register button at the top. Press the big blue register button so you're registered and you're notified when we release new challenges. And every single day you're going to receive one of those challenges. And I'm going to be here to kick things off, give you some inspiration, show you some tips and tricks in Adobe XD. Hey Jack, welcome, first stream of the new year, indeed. First of many. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. You can join us in community chat, which I'll show you in just a second. Watch the live streams as you're doing right now, and then share your work. I'll show you that in a second too. Now, every single day starting tomorrow, a new challenge is going to unlock. So January 7th, 2020. Can you imagine? Can you believe it's 2020 already? Crazy. Sounds so futuristic. Maybe we will release some futuristic features this year. We'll see. So every single day a new challenge is going to be released, and I'm going to show you what that challenge is every single day at this exact time. You can also subscribe down here, download XD, join the community, and if I hop over to Discord, this is our community chat, and there's 31,000 of you registered for Discord right now. 31,000. Not in here right now. We have 960 people online at this very moment, but there's 31,000 of you in here at any given time. So we have a bunch of different channels. You can get the lowdown on each challenge. If you're new to XD, you can read some stuff in there. You can ask questions, get tips and tricks, career advice. We have some great mentors and moderators in the chat. Chris and Joss and Peter and Tim and Gus and Mesh, and a lot of different, Cars is in there as well. So hop in there. It's a very good time. A lot of great people in there. If you have questions, that sort of thing, hang out. So what else do we want to go over for today's welcome stream? Well, when you're posting your work every single day, again, at whenever it is you finish it. Again, one thing I always stress through these streams is that this isn't a competition. It's really, we do these things to maybe introduce you to Adobe XD or sharpen up your skills or help build a portfolio. So don't worry if you can't complete every challenge every single day. take some extra time, polish it up, and then post your work. You can post it in Discord. We have a few different channels. You can post it in the current challenge channel, the past challenge channel, or design other channel. A lot of different channels depending on what you're posting, and there's great people in there to give you some great feedback as well. You can also post on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge, and there's just thousands and thousands and thousands. If I go to projects, see all projects here, you can just browse. You can also filter by time or appreciations, that sort of thing. But there's just thousands of these challenges that have come in over the last year. I don't know how long we've been running these things, quite a long time. But if you want some inspiration and kind of see what the daily challenges have all been about over the last year or so, you can just browse through these and you can kind of really get some ideas on what kind of topics we cover. And over the next 2 weeks, we're gonna kind of cover some topics that tackle social good. And I know Sam Anderson tackles a lot of these as well. And you're gonna see some examples over the next 2 weeks, but I think you're gonna have a good time with these. And you can use those for your projects, your portfolios, whatever it might be. And if you're brand new to Adobe XD, I would encourage you to head over to letsxd.com, not only because I created this and I created the videos that are on here, but I think it's a pretty good resource, if I do say so myself. But there's videos on the new features, there's videos on designing and prototyping, collaborating. We also have some great videos from Danny Beaumont, who is a product manager on the XD team. If you're really getting started, if you want to learn the absolute basics, she has a great series here on getting started and prototyping and also working with components and states. And speaking of components and states, that's one of the biggest features that we released at Adobe Max. We had components before, but now we have states as well. I do have a freebie section on letsxd.com, and you can download a bunch of different freebies. Some deal with components, some deal with states, some deal with none of that at all. But I released a new UI kit, and let me show you this over here. If I hop over to Adobe XD, this is what it looks like, and it's all about states and components. There's like 100 components and over 200 states. It's a good time. You can just dive in here, really get the lowdown on what states is and how they work. And basically, let me show you, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a small tutorial in just a moment. But if you take a look at this over here to the right, you have a single button, a single component, and you can toggle between the different states. So depending on what you need this button to do, whether it's a different screen, if you want a different color or whatever, or hover, or a press state or an outline state or whatever it might be, you can just toggle it over here to the right, and then you can get really advanced and get into hover state. So if I preview this artboard here, you can take a look as I hover over these things, right? The animation kicks off. It works beautifully with auto animate, eat tacos for lunch, of course. That's what we all do, right? So there's a lot of really cool things, and I also have some examples of animated states. So you can combine your states with auto animate as well. I opened the wrong one. Just like this. So you can combine hover. So we have a hover effect right over here. You tap on it, and it also kicks off an auto animate between those two various states. And it's just really cool. And if there's any banging in the background, I have a washer and dryer being delivered right now. So hopefully none of you hear that. Hopefully the music... Is the music even playing? Nope, there's just some banging in the background. But if anyone has any questions throughout the stream, this little welcome introduction stream, definitely let me know in the chat and I will do my best to answer. So let me hop over to this document here, and I'll just give you a little bit of a tutorial to show you kind of what XD is, a few tips and tricks, repeat grids, component states, and that sort of thing. And maybe a lot of this stuff will, come into play over the next two weeks as we are, going through these challenges. So this is another kit that I have available over on letsxd.com. It is this one here, this basket landing page. And this really shows off how you can use component states, hover within a repeat grid. So let me go back over here. There we go. Stone says, yes, I thought the banging was in my house. No, it's just me. Hopefully it'll be over soon. Hopefully you can't hear it too well. So here we have a landing page, nothing too crazy. And we have this area at the bottom, just filled of a few components, right? Not components, but elements. So we've got this image in the background. It's mainly a shape that we're going to put images in. We have some text. we have more text here, and we have an arrow, right? And we might want to turn this into a repeat grid so we can add a few additional elements and add some images very easily and really make this look like something kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this card here, and I'm going to turn this into a repeat grid. And I can do that a few ways. I can use the Command or Control R shortcut, or I can press the repeat grid button over to the right. And when I do that, boop, there we go. We have these handles, one to the right and one at the bottom. And this will allow us to drag out additional cards across our document, just like this. We can drag them horizontally, we can drag them vertically if we wanted to, and then we can adjust the spacing. And if we had some guides, which I do, I can make sure that everything lines up really nicely with my guides, just like that. There we go. That was the first boop of 2020, by the way. First of many boops. All right, so we've got this repeat grid going across our document, and of course we need some images. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop over to Finder right over here, and I do have some images here, and I could go ahead and drag one image into each card at a time, but you know, I wanna save a little bit of time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select one image, select another one, select a third image, and I'm simply going to drag them all into the cards just like that. It's going to automatically populate it throughout our grid. And even once those images are in there, I can easily double click on them. I can make this one larger a little bit. I can even flip it if I wanted to, right? Put this into place just like that. That looks pretty good right about there. This one I might want to make a little bit larger as well. Beautiful. And this one, the same thing. Make it a little bit, let's make this one quite a bit larger and just push it off over to the side. Just like that. Perfect. Now, text layers within a repeat grid can easily be overridden. So I'll keep this one accessorize your life. Maybe this one I will just double click, and I'll just kind of mimic what I have over to the right over here. Keep cool, right? And look cool. Perfect. And then this one, oops, make it pop. Perfect. There we go. So we've got these text files going on. Let me just move this over a little bit just to make sure everything looks good. We've got our text layers. Everything looks fancy. Now, of course, what we might want to do in this case is we might want to add some sort of a hover effect so that when you are in this repeat grid and you are previewing this artboard, you can actually hover over top of each of these and you can actually see something happen. So there's a few things we might want to do, right? We might want maybe the image to alter a little bit. Maybe it'll get a little bit brighter, a little bit darker. We might also want this arrow over here to maybe get a little bit longer when the hover is taking place. So let me show you how that works. Now, you might think to yourself, you might want to take this image and convert that into a component, but you probably don't want to do that because what'll happen is if I right click and then turn it into a component, it's going to basically disable me from dragging multiple images into the repeat grid from now on, because each component is separate, so it doesn't act as a repeat grid anymore. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm actually going to duplicate this image. So I'm going to Command or Control D, just like that, and nothing really looks like it has changed. But we have now over here, we have two layers, right? Why is my zoom not working? My zoom is not working on my keyboard. I broke my keyboard. Anyways, so we have the image here and we have an image, but this one we actually want to turn into an overlay. So I'm going to turn it into an overlay and I'm going to set the fill to just white. And you're noticing because this is a repeat grid, it's distributing the changes throughout all of them, right? Adriano saying, do you have plans to challenge about neumorphism? I have mixed feelings about it. I kind of like it, but at the same time, it's not great for accessibility. So we'll see. We're exploring that a little bit, but it's very tricky. If we do, possibly, we'll see. So I now have this overlay layer throughout my repeat grid, and I obviously don't want it to look like this because it's covering everything. So I might want to use a blend mode. There, my zoom is working now. So I might want to change this to, let's say, a soft light blend mode. That's a little bit too harsh, so I'm going to maybe turn down the opacity to about 30%. So essentially, when a hover takes place, it's going to look like this, right? But of course, we might want to turn all of this into a component so that we can create a hover effect, which you need to do in order to create. You have to have a component and states to create hover. But what I also want to do is make sure that this arrow gets a little bit longer. But I'm hearing banging in the background. So what we're going to do, we're going to start creating all of these into a component. So over here to the left, it's weird. My zoom doesn't work on this side, but it works on this side. That doesn't make any sense. I think my keyboard is spazzing out. Okay, anyways, no more zooming. So we've got our overlay, we've got our let's go text layer, and we've got our arrow as well. So we're gonna select all of these layers. Yep, my keyboard is definitely spazzing out. Come on, keyboard, let me select the layers. Oh no. Hold on. There we go, okay. I need a new keyboard. Okay, so I've got all the layers selected. Now with all of them selected, I can either right click and then choose make component, or over to the right, we have the plus button beside component. I'm gonna go ahead and press that, and that will turn all of those layers into a component, and you can see those inside of our assets panel right here. I'm just gonna turn this in. Wow, my keyboard is not having it today. Turn this in, name it layer overlay. There we go, just like that. And what I'm going to do now is we need to set up states. So over to the right, we're going to press the plus button. This will be basically the default state that shows nothing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click, go into overlay, make sure the opacity is set to 0%, because by default, I don't want that overlay layer displayed. Indeed, Alberto, new keyboard 2020. All right, you see 2 mouse pointers. That's weird. Everything's spazzing out in 2020. So now we've got this overlay component selected. We're gonna go over here to the right. We're gonna press the plus button beside component and choose a new hover state. And you're gonna notice, if you look very closely, I don't wanna zoom in to break anything. There's a little lightning icon, and that will let you know that this is wired up for prototyping by default. So I'm gonna press that. I'm just gonna name it hover state, keep it as is. And now with that hover state selected, we need to start making the changes that will be displayed on hover. Hey Cheryl, thank you. Great last name, by the way. So I'm gonna dive in here, I'm gonna double click, select the overlay layer, bump that up, back up to around 30%. Then I'm going to select the arrow, I'm gonna zoom in here and simply drag this out. Just like that. Responsive resize works really nicely with elements like this. And there we go. So now, and you're noticing again, it's kind of distributing those changes across the entire repeat grid. But I don't want the hover state being shown by default. I actually want the default state, so I'm going to select default state. Now, the moment of truth. Again, because hover states are automatically wired up in the background, all I had to do is press the play button at the top, and when I hover, you're going to notice the effect takes place. So we've got the little overlay layer. Let me actually dive in here. Let me go back to the hover state. I'm going to dive in here, make sure, I'm going to just bump this opacity up quite a bit, just so you can see it. Just like that, go back to overlay. We play it, look at that. And we've got auto animate working really nicely on this repeat grid, right? So things look really good. Of course, you can go ahead and go into prototype mode right up here. And if you want to change the way this kind of appears, what you can do is you have this wire selected, and this, so traditionally your wires go to other artboards, but because now we have states available, you have this little cute wire just kind of poking out, right? And over here to the right, you can change. So if you don't want auto animate, if you want a simple transition, you can do that. You can set the animation to none. And that way it just appears just like that. So there's no animation, but you can just very quickly hover over top of these, and then you get these lovely effects. But of course you probably want auto animate in that case, because you do want that arrow kind of coming in, right? So we'll choose auto animate, ease in and out, duration, let's say 0.2 seconds to make it nice and quick. And then you've got this lovely animation, right? Beautiful. All right, so we've got a few minutes left. Let me go ahead and show you a few more things, to create some additional states and components. Again, components and states will definitely have a big role in the challenges. Not every challenge coming up, but Nyasha says, how about a little background image zoom? Ooh, that could be fun. So what we have to actually, in that case, we cannot do it the way we set things up. We would have to turn the image into, or add the image into the component as well. And we chose not to do that because it's all within a repeat grid, right? And again, like I mentioned earlier, if we were to turn the images into components within this repeat grid, it would still work, but we wouldn't be able to drag bulk images into the repeat grid and have them distribute anymore, because that's not the way components work. But let me show you how that could be done. So let's say in this image at the top, right, we wanted to do exactly what Nyasha is asking. So I'm going to go ahead and select the header image. I'm going to turn this into a component. So I'm going to right click, make component, or Command or Control K, or the plus button over to the right. A lot of different ways to turn it into a component. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. So now we have the header image as a component. I'm going to go press the plus button, go to hover state right over here to the right. Hover state sounds pretty good. And now with that selected, I can go ahead and make the changes. So I'm going to double click into this, double click again to access the mask. And I might just want to zoom it out a little bit. Probably not too much, so it's not too in your face, but just like that. So we now have the header image, we have the default state, and we have the hover state. So now when you press play, if we hover, it basically transitions and animates exactly where we left it. So if we want it a little bit more centered, I can just go back to the hover state, move this over a touch, just like that, right? Let's go back to our default state, play, and there is the animation there. And of course, down here, we've got a repeat grid with all the animations as well. So there's a lot of really cool, I also added this one over here. A lot of really cool things. Oh yeah, Tim, I'm getting a lot of notifications on Discord. Hopefully something's not wrong in the stream, but some of you would have probably let me know. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool things you can do with components and states. And let me actually hop back over here just to show you a few more examples of how things are done. Let's see, what is it? Just here we go. So we've got these real world examples over here to the left. And traditionally something like this, for example, this cards, actually, do I have? Yeah, here we go. This music app, let me hide my guides. Traditionally, this would have taken dozens and dozens of artboards. I actually have a video on Let's XD showing component states, and I think there was 21 artboards for something like this. But if you press play, you've got hover effects, and don't mind the lag, my computer is being worked pretty hard right now. We've got these hover effects, right? We can turn on and off this notification center. We've got notifications over here. This search bar animates just like that, right? And all of this is done using single components and states. And let me kind of show you how something like the search bar would animate. Let me go to the default state. I'm actually going to delete the expanded state. I'm going to press the plus button and create a simple new state. And then from here, let me just name it state 2. It's a very original name, right? I'm going to double click into the component, and now I can go ahead and make all the changes. Now this ellipse looks like an ellipse, but it's actually made up of a rectangle. And that's so I can very easily drag it out and make it a little bit larger, just like this, right? And you're noticing the bounds of that component expand or contract depending on where you're moving the elements. I can also make the border a little bit smaller. I can change the color, or I can decrease the opacity a little bit, just like that. Perfect. I can grab this little stick or whatever you want to call it, carrot, just move it into place like that. Maybe make the border a little bit smaller as well, right? Just move it into place. Yeah, my computer's lagging quite a bit. I might need a new one soon. That new Mac Pro is smiling down on me. So let me go ahead and also change the opacity. This was set to 22. Let's also set it to 20%. We can also add elements to different states as well. So I'm going to search. Ooh, you can't see that text, can you? There we go. Oh, my keyboard's spazzing again. Oh no. I got to get this keyboard looked at. Or just get a new one, right? So I'll change this. That's obviously way too large. Make it nice and small, 25% or 25 pixels possibly. Let's go for regular. It's still too big. There we go. And just change this like this. All right, so I've made some modifications to this state and component. So I've got our original and I've got state number 2, which I should probably name if my keyboard wants to cooperate. There we go. Perfect. And now what we need to do is wire it up. So I'm gonna, oh, Tim says, or Windows, maybe one day. I'm gonna hop into prototype mode. I'm gonna click. So again, traditionally you would drag it, but I'm gonna simply click. I'm gonna make sure that the destination is expanded. Make sure auto animate is set. Ease in and out. and then duration 0.4 seconds. So that way, if I press play, I can press the search icon, it expands, and then what I can do is go over to the expanded state, choose the default state just like that, and press play, and there we go. So little breakdown on components and states. We're going to be working a little bit with them over the next 2 weeks, but I'm really excited to get things going, get the challenges running starting tomorrow, bright and early, or 11:30 Pacific time, whatever time it is in your part of the world. So thanks again for everyone joining me. I'm going to get this keyboard looked at, figure things out, and stick around. We've got some more Adobe Live stuff coming up in just a few minutes. So thanks again, everyone, and I will see you all tomorrow.